about gangster lean. Got to talk about the gangster lean. Yeah, that's that jam, boy.
What's up, man? How
Uh,
you feeling?
I'm chilling, bro. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I, you know, did something new,
Yeah, right.
something new going
Man,
on.
just made the big reveal on the gram and all of that. It
Yeah,
looked nice on you. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Everybody been being so nice to me. I forgot,
that's so
I
nice.
forgot what I looked like. Underneath the wig. But nah, it's just time for something new. Time for
Nah,
something new.
that's man. They say the streets was saying you had that Jay-Z situation going on.
What's that
I'm
mean?
wearing a wig though.
Oh
I
man, hey,
had
that's
the
hella
High
funny.
Fiber go.
I had the peace on. That's what they saying. The street saying I had the peace on. That's
Yeah,
all
bro. We
bad.
gotta see the progression. We saw you one day with a low cut last time.
That's hella funny. That's
No,
hella
that's
funny, man. But nah,
oh man.
I'm fighting the Missouri allergies, though. I will say that. It's that
Real,
time.
real,
That
real,
time. So
real,
that
real.
means that's good. That means we're in a good season.
Yeah,
Spring is here.
what made you do a big chop?
Honestly, bro, just a new era. I'm
Real.
kind of low key moving into a new era in my thinking and my creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and just like my being. And the hair just wasn't. It didn't feel like where I was at for real. It wasn't. So
Mm,
it's not.
mm,
It's kind of deep, but maybe it's not that deep. But I love the my quote has been the LaMelo Ball quote that he did
mm-hmm.
at New Year's. He was like, "New year, new me, same me though."
Ah,
And
type shit, type shit, type
that's my
shit.
quote. That's how I'm feeling. It's like New Year, new me, but same me though.
No, that's good info. I don't know. I know you've heard Mock or whatnot, but he's got the song "Self Love." You ever heard that one? It's
Oh
like a
no.
conductor beat and all that. It's solid. I'll send it to you later. But he
Okay.
talks about cutting his locks off and then going back on the journey again because he's locked up again now. But just
Yeah.
like felt like he got rid of a dead weight. I was like, damn. Now
Hmm.
hearing you say that, because damn near last time, one of the last couple episodes, I was like, I'm thinking about maybe locking up, but I still want my braids. I really do enjoy having hair, and I've had a lot of homies that told me when you cut your hair, if you really, really still like your hair, you might regret it because obviously you like back, you got to do the whole thing over, but it also just sounds really refreshing just to kind of like chop it off.
And for me, it's not the first time I've done it, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna grow my hair back. But I
Hmm.
don't mind being in this era for a while. It's a different style. Like I
Okay.
like styles, so
Hmm.
I guess
Hmm.
if men wore wigs and weaves and stuff like that, I probably would be having all the styles. That's kind of just my swag. I feel like
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
overall.
Okay.
So now
No.
I'm into that. So yeah, man, you gonna get
Okay.
some.
Okay.
This is my new rapper era, man. Now I got to get my low cut raps off. So
Right. Right. He
you
started rapping like Cassidy and shit
know
with
what
the
I'm
fitted
saying?
on.
With the fitted on, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. But well, first off, we gotta talk about hoops.
Yeah. I'm
No,
about to say
no, before
playoffs going on right now. I don't even
playoffs.
know who won the early games.
Giannis was winning earlier, but you never know.
Oh. Okay.
Before we get
Okay.
into that, I would like to hear your Shedeur Sanders take.
Oh wow, did not see that one coming. Um, it's crazy. It's a really good book. I encourage any listener to check out. I read it in high school and I revisited it in college. Called $40 Million Slaves. The author's name does miss me right now, but it's a really good book. Just talking about really the sports industrial complex and just like athletes fighting for their fair due of ownership and compensation and all of this, but there's undertones of like the whole bucking, like buck breaking a buck type of mentality that goes on with this. I know folks were talking about Shedeur being super arrogant and the fact that he already rich and all this. Like he's not the humble quarterback, anything like that. He's not the first non-humble black athlete, but
Mhm.
there still does seem to be a mindset and mentality, and even the way that on social media folks were talking about Shador, there are still undertones that I don't think people unpack. Like that's the thing with the racism in America; it's so intricately weaved into American culture. in the American psyche that I don't even think that we realize when we subconsciously doing to be on some racist shit. Like the one tweet that went viral, the white buddy, he was like, this, I think he was talking about maybe Cam Ward. He was like, this is an example of a quarterback that you want,
Mm-hmm.
humble, this and that. And it's like,
Yeah.
it was so many ways that even if he didn't mean it for Black Americans, we took that as you calling him a boy and, will fucking like bow down to you, as opposed to a Black man with his chin up, chest out, and say, I know I'm the shit. And
Right.
I think that's really kind of what happened, because ain't no way to scout and the hype, all the other stuff. Bro get dropped down to a Saturday.
Yeah.
To a Saturday, was it like round 5 or 6 or something like that? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's sending a message more than it is anything to do about draft.
Yeah. And I think that,
Yeah.
like, something you talk about, just to touch on undertones real quick, is that attitude only exists because you're Black. Because the opposite of it is the cool white guy, which is Joe Burrow, which is a different type of cool for a different type of reasons.
Mhm,
So, like,
mhm,
when you want to
mhm.
talk about where that attitude comes from, where the jewelry wearing comes from, where prime time comes from, prime time comes from the trenches. It don't come from he wears it how he wears it, but it comes from the trenches. It's a self
Right,
image, self confidence type of thing.
right, right,
And
right,
not to
right.
say that that can't backfire on you sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
the negative connotation that it can carry sometimes comes from that idea of breaking somebody spiritually, so that
Exactly.
and you have to be real careful of how you talk about it, because it's a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it
Yeah,
ain't even got to be
yeah,
that deep. It's a thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean,
for sure.
because you just don't really get a lot of white people that own up to the fact that when you check them on some shit, because you may not be like capital R racist, and I'm not talking about you're a Klansman right now, but the
Mhm.
level of defensive, it's the same with, like calling a man a misogynist or a woman don't hold accountability or whatever. Like
Right, right, right,
we all have our things.
right.
But when you refuse to listen to the victim or the oppressed or whatever the power dynamic is in that moment, for them to actually voice their opinion and listen to them and take into consideration what they say, you still are kind of being racist, bro. And I
Yeah.
think we just deal with that so much in sports commentary. We see a rise of Black athletes making it onto these platforms, but there is still always going to be room for casting of a white Skip Bayless ass motherfucker out here, because there's a segment of the population that likes that sort of guy and agrees with that sort of guy. So you got to cast them to reel in that audience anyway. But also the producers, the owners of these channels and media platforms
Hmm.
still tend to be white at the end of the pipeline.
Yeah.
And they still call
Yeah.
shots. They still call down shots. Very similar to today with Amazon and Jeff Bezos making that call. Well, Trump making that call. Jeff Bezos not even the CEO of Amazon no more, but he know Bezos gonna pick up that phone and he gonna call. He needs to call over at Amazon. Did you see that about
I didn't see that.
Amazon? So Amazon basically, and it wasn't even for the main site. That's what's crazy about it. When I read the article, it's for like their little side bulk kind of drop shipping websites or whatever. They were going to start showing the information about the percent of the tariff and how that affected the final price. On some like, yeah, your shit's more expensive. We're being transparent about letting you know why it's more expensive all of a sudden. Obviously, tariffs, but the word got out about that when I woke up for work in the morning. By lunchtime, it was announced that Trump had made a call to Jeff Bezos and Amazon's no longer going to do that thing no more. Like I say, mind you,
Mm,
Bezos not even the CEO. It really is to protect Trump. It has no benefit to nobody else other than to not make Trump look bad, especially after he just got all these bad poll reviews and all of that.
mm,
But we are, I know we mostly cover advertising, marketing, culture, but like politics and the economics of it all when it comes to
hmm.
politics
It's the bottom line.
absolutely affects us. Yeah, it affects us directly. So even when we get into stuff like this, it's still important, because I know I was rapping with you earlier,
Mm,
and even with that, and I say this, and then I'll let you get your shit off or whatever. But even finding out about Paramount, because I wanted to rap with you a little bit about like the media upfronts and all the other little nerdy advertising shit.
hmm.
But I came across an article. I didn't even know Paramount was suppressing the journalists of 60 Minutes very recently. And like even the
Hmm.
OG who've been around for some decades just recently stepped down because he don't want to get caught up in the middle of some shit with Trump and them. Because basically what's happening is Paramount is looking to either acquire or merge with another corporation. You know, media motherfuckers be strapped for cash. Everybody
Mm,
tossing around, but they need the approval of the FCC in
FTC.
order to get the deal done. And 60 Minutes is just a very classic, traditional, several award winning, top of the line, like magnum opus, transparent journalist platform. But Trump is clamping down on journalists right now and brands and all this other stuff. So it's even really interesting just watching how all of this shit plays out, because it's like the editorial team at 60 Minutes was like, we're starting to feel like it's going in a different direction. They're starting to like impose rules. They have not done anything directly just yet, but they was
Right.
just on some tip chat type shit, like, yeah, shit different around here. So people been quitting and turning down. And even like the main guy who hosts 60 Minutes did a nod to it on Sunday on the show and like air Paramount out real quick or whatever. And everybody's been talking about it the last couple of days. But this shit is serious when it comes to like the media, advertising, political, cultural kind of like landscape right now, bro. Like this is not lightweight material we dealing with.
And it goes back to the days of William Hurts. And it's
Mm.
yellow journalism again. It is
Mm-hmm.
what media is based on: advertising and sensationalism. And in there, we had some purists who kept lyrics alive, kept the beats
Mm-hmm.
banging. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what's selling. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what's selling. And that's and for me, real journalists, people who have stories to tell, people who have opinions to share, people who have work to produce, they're always going to find ways to do it.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
there's a boom in podcasts. That's why the new media landscape is. I just watched Pete Buttigieg on fucking Andrew Schultz.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's a big deal actually.
you know what I mean? So just watching that, just even that, the conversations that he has transitioned into having. It's like media is, if you want what you want, there's ways to go get it now. And and
Right.
and that's just the truth. And but something that you talked about is, how do these big media corporations in their output respond to culture and society? And I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's what you see a lot with the upfronts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every few years we always have the conversation about UPN and the CW and how we always have to, have that conversation every few years.
Right, right.
But before you talk about the media upfronts, what has been your feelings to the response of Sinners? Have you seen Sinners?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
I woke up. I woke up. I didn't go on the opening Friday. I think I might have had to DJ something,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I did get up. I went to the 12:30
There you
p.m.
go.
show
There you go.
on Saturday
Matinee. I
at
love a
the
matinee.
IMAX. Yeah, and it was lit, bro. It was sold out. It was, well, I ain't gonna say sold out, but 90% of the tickets at the point when I bought mine that evening was already gone. So
Yeah, I
like
went that
I
Monday at
imagine,
night. I went that Monday at a night, like after the weekend.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
nighttime IMAX, it was packed in there.
Yeah, that's fine, bro.
Packed.
And I definitely went to man. So first, I want to say, oh boy, I think it was like Variety or Deadline who wrote that article talking about how successful it was, but how he still needs to make more money to cover the marketing budget. Like, such a hater
Such
move,
a
bro. I'm
hater,
happy
bro.
that the clapback happened, because not only did he surpass that shit the second weekend,
Hmm.
he surpassed that and put a little extra 40, 50 million on top of that. So
Come
like,
on,
whatever
man.
you're talking about, it's dumb anyway. That's a hater move,
Coog.
because so many films. I saw some shit and was reading some articles after like the thing went viral. I didn't know it was that big, but they say for like these big budget films, they spent almost half of what their production budget was on marketing, bro, to promote the movie so people can go out. These be blockbuster big hits that they want. The fact that they were able to do this with a majority black cast, black writer, producer, all of that shit, director, and still end up making 100 mil in 2 weeks. That's crazy. One of the biggest debut weekends, I think, since the other ones like Jordan Peele, Us, or something like that,
Hmm.
like 2019, 2020. Like, we there's a lot to be said about the disruption of Hollywood by black people. in the last
Mm,
half decade for real.
mm.
Between your Issa Rays and your Jordan Pools to your Black Panthers and Ryan Coogler's
Childish
to the
Gambino, Donald Glover.
exactly, bro. And when I'm speaking of Hollywood, I'm also definitely talking about the film, the TV studios, which the film and TV studios all be, under one large conglomerate:
Mm-hmm.
NBC, Universal, Paramount, yada yada yada. But like what Donald did on TV with the last two seasons of Atlanta and how that came through and smashed it and literally took up full blocks of time. Like it was usually in sitcom 30-minute format, and now you're giving them really 42, 45 minutes on a
Mm-hmm.
drama side of things to close it out while everybody's sitting down at home mostly still during the pandemic and everybody talking about it. Now it was polarized into, I think, some of Black Twitter. I loved it. I thought it was some of his best work. It was very courageous to actually take a couple extra steps
It was very
towards a little
Childish
bit more
Gambino.
of like, yeah, he went a little more artsy and surrealist with it, and he didn't have to. He could have gave a little bit more Chappelle Show Boondocks and became like a cultural phenomenon.
That's
I still
real.
think I still think he gave us elements of that, but he did get tighter and smarter, and you could tell he was thinking about some shit too,
Yeah.
like the messaging of what he was doing. So I love that. But the Issa Rae SZA Kiki Palmer joint early this year. I went to see that opening weekend. Like
Same.
we have arrived, bro. And even with the upfront stuff, because I know we're gonna get into that or whatever as we proceed. But like just thinking about where the black body exists within all of these things moving forward is
Mm.
really interesting because we really killing it, bro. And it ain't always about us necessarily being the ones on or behind the camera. We truly are the culture.
And this is why, to that point right there, I'm about to throw you a curve here. You're not
Mm-hmm.
expecting what I'm about to say. But after I say it, you're going to expect it from me.
Okay.
This is why we can't be so critical of Tyler Perry. Because for every Ryan Coogler,
Mm-hmm.
for every fan, black fan of Ryan Coogler who appreciated the conversations around IMAX and the frames per minute and the sound design and the Ruth Carter
All dumb shit too.
and the
Yeah.
Ruth Carter wardrobe.
Yeah.
There is a black lady who cannot wait for Tyler Perry to write a novella that's gonna have her talking to the television for 20 minutes. And as black creators, we have to finally accept that we could do both and not compromise our blackness. Because
Yes.
that is,
Yes.
we
Yes.
should
Yeah.
love to. And the reason I use Tyler Perry in particular is because he creates so much conversation around, oh, like the positive things that he does and the negative things that he does in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I've never really felt from a black creator. Like
Mm-hmm.
Oprah,
Mm-hmm.
I never really grew up hearing the negative things that Oprah was doing. And when Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Perry started with in the black excellence camp. Like
Right. Right.
Cicely
Right. Right.
Tyson, he gonna do X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
Z, and he is now by himself propping up black entertainment television and propping up, helping the Oprah on network.
He
So
giving people chances too. He's definitely giving
he's
people
paying
chances.
actors, he's doing all that stuff, he's making studios. Will Smith and Martin shot some of their stuff on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And Bad Boys, they shot some of that there.
come on, man, it's this
Oh,
is
that's hard. I didn't know that.
they're
That's
doing a
really
lot.
cool.
They shoot a lot of
That's
stuff at
really
Tyler
cool,
Perry Studios. You
TPP.
know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
what's up. That's
a,
what's up.
a lot of stuff is shot there. But my point in that is
Mm-hmm.
just that like
Mm-hmm.
all of us have to be able to exist so we can create all the things.
Yep. 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 Yep.
You
Yep. Yep.
need
Yep.
Medea to create sinners, and I know that that feels like, but we all know a Medea. It's nothing wrong with being a Medea. It's
Right.
nothing.
Right.
If
Right.
it's not
Right.
for
Right.
you, it's not for you. In the same way that do the right thing and black sorority life and Greek life is not for every black person either. But that story is
Mm-hmm.
very much so need to be told so we can have a moonlight story. They both need to be told.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I think what the last decade was about, at least to me, were these breakthroughs that happened in the mainstream, but they were also done by, and not to take away from the 90s and 80s, because a lot of them were as well, but I think the way that the presentation of it is rolled out is by these like middle class, college educated blacks artsier types, the ones who kind of
Went
fit
to school
also into the
for it.
mode of like, you know, the fucking represent like identity politics wave that happened last decade. All of that stuff was happening. I think all good things, but a lot of people from that particular pocket, because I think there's a lot of like dipping toes in both. White people do it all the time. You could watch you Honey Boo Boo, but still be into A24 films and go to the fucking Sundance Festival. All of that can
Literally.
happen. You could be white as shit. I think for us, we now we must begin to start to allow that spectrum to really fully like exist and have respect for it. Because I
Because
don't
we do
really,
it in music. We do it in
absolutely,
music.
we
We
do,
do it
we
in
do, we
music.
do, and
We do it in
that's our
music.
bread and butter. But now we getting way more representation on the camera and within culture, but especially within media nowadays through fashion, through art, through food, so many different politics, so many different things. We need to allow ourselves to be seen as the wide spectrum of who we really are. And I get it if it's not for everybody, but that was my thing in general. Like I know we'd be saying like new blacks and all that other shit or whatever. It
Right.
is a particular type of Negro. I ain't gonna necessarily nitpick about what they is or whatnot, but a lot of them do exist within the corporate world and in media and
Mhm.
all these things like that. And I think that they sometimes are afraid about how they would allow us to be perceived by the masses and the types of opportunities. Because I do think that Black folks also need to be thinking critically about how we are portraying ourselves in certain aspects of our culture on the negative side and
Mhm.
start to. I'm just all about balance. And I
Right.
do see a lot more negative shit than positive. But also, you got to allow your country cousin to get to the movies too and go have some fun
Bro.
and laugh at some shit. Like them,
Bro.
they're people as well. Fuck it being your people, they're people. But yes,
Mhm.
they are your people, and you should love them the same way. And that's it. Just depends on who you is at the barbecue, bro, or the
That's
kickback.
all it is. That's all it is. And
Like,
so I understand. I'm not saying that
yeah.
he does not deserve any criticisms, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying the type of criticism that he gets to me that I don't think people realize that his presence along with everybody else's presence, that's what makes the opposite of what he made of what he represents more profound. That's
Mm.
what makes a show like Harlem so profound, rap
Right,
shit so profound,
right, right,
Insecure is so
right,
profound. It's because there is a space for Medea. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
that's
right,
what it
right, right, right.
represents. You know what I'm
It,
saying?
it,
Like,
it that
period.
is
Like,
that is the difficult truth and hard reality that I think being any sort of minority in America kind of essentially means. If you're not a straight white male, so this is even for queer people, it's for black people, this is for
mm-hmm.
Latino people, it's for Asians, a lot of minor women, there are a lot of yeah, I already said queer people, like the whole spectrum, everybody's still fighting for just a little bit more of a bigger check and a bigger platform on this
Right.
space that's been dominated by white men. So I understand it, but I do just also think that we need to just have better critical thinking skills and also like know what the fuck we doing. Some
Right.
silly shit gonna happen. I miss the old HBO where the
Mm-hmm.
kids wasn't necessarily watching the motherfucking I forget the show, the shit that Drake produced, the A24 joint. I
Uh-huh.
think it was Zendaya. What's the show?
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Like our Euphoria would be the Sopranos or the Wire time slot back in the day, and kids weren't watching it. But
Mm-hmm.
then later on, at a certain time, you also still got real sex and all that other shit. Like I think we blurred the lines with how much information and media is accessible through internet. One, it is harder to censor and track everything your kids are doing, all of that. But the thing I think that really do be mattering in America is the fall off of like education and involvement of parents in the household. And I get it, it is rough. It's not an easy thing, but ultimately you could my parents let me watch all kind of shit growing up and listen to whatever music. I didn't turn out to be a bad person at all. I've done very well in life. I know others that are like me, and
Right.
also know motherfuckers who was a little clamped down at some is still a little more liberated and they found themselves. I also know other motherfuckers that square as hell now or
Right.
that works for them. And it's like, I ain't even into that shit. You never really experienced it. And the allure and mystique of wanting to do it is no longer there for you either. So you like drink sometimes and you really do just be chilling and you still a good fucking person, bro. And
Right.
like they need representation as well. But when so many minorities are vying for like these opportunities, and once again, just to be able to make as much money as a rich white man,
Right.
it's really hard. But that's what I like about the media upfronts. It wasn't so much about the diversity, but for some of the bigger studios, but something like YouTube being as big as it is now,
Mm-hmm.
and so many different niches having an opportunity to build their own platform. It's a sea of stuff out there. So it's still to the victor goes the spoils. You still have to make some of the best attention seeking content out there
Yeah.
and have really good ideas. And I think on a free market kind of perspective, it does encourage innovation and creativity for sure still, or consistency and hard work if you want to go about it that way, because you can still get on after pumping shit over and over. But when you got a good idea and you pumping it, the algorithm benefits you, bro. And it's
Mm.
so much money. It's so many people that are on YouTube, the TV version now is getting more viewing hours than the mobile version
I
of
saw that.
YouTube,
I
bro.
saw that.
Like that's a big deal. I just saw a thing when I was reading about upfronts or whatever earlier. February 2025, more people were watching YouTube than any other fucking streaming service in any other network.
Mm.
It's like that right now. It's
Yeah.
like that right now. And I'm not gonna say this is gonna always be that way, but that's definitely where the future is headed. We're gonna see some other months when some big things is happening or summer or some shit fall off. But like, yeah, bro, user generated content and very super stripped down niche pockets is where it's going. If I want to just watch about basketball all day or fashion all day or music all day, I can
Right.
do that.
Yeah. I To your point, YouTube has been the best video first social media site because like when you start to watch certain channels and you're like a repeat fan, you recognize commenters, you
Mhm.
notice how
There is a
co-
community on YouTube
how
for sure. Yeah.
conversation from Twitter, Reddit makes its way into YouTube comments, how YouTube comments spill out into other places, you know what I'm saying? um as a YouTube content creator we are now, and I have several. I have three
Right,
YouTube
right, right.
pages
You do be you gonna
that
get your
I'm
shit
that
out.
I'm on YouTube, and have been doing it since 2007, to be honest. I've been on YouTube for a long time.
Mm,
Um it it is something that, like, as you talk about the upfronts and just like where media is going, I I see both sides. I understand why you could be a conglomerate and you feel like betting on intellectual property is your best bet. I understand why you feel like, well, shit, let's just make another Jurassic Park.
right,
Like,
right, right,
I
right.
understand that, but there does seem to be a missed opportunity. Like recently, I've been watching '90s movies. So
Hmm.
I watched Heat the other day
Nice,
when I was
nice,
out of town for
nice.
work, and it was
Yeah.
another.
It's been kind of trickling around my Twitter timeline recently too. It's
Yeah,
definitely on my watch list.
Bill Simmons did a watchables on it, so maybe
Oh, tight. Okay, okay,
that's
okay,
probably a
okay.
little
That's
bit of it. Why?
I like it.
But just random movies like that. That's just like original IP, a director really making some shit and just kind of going for it. Like I am
Hmm.
in the IP universe. Obviously, I'm getting older because I don't know one thing about Minecraft.
Right, right,
I don't know one thing about Minecraft. I couldn't tell you one thing. So, but for that to be such a huge movie, I am going to go see the Thunderbolts. Like all the other blockbusters at the movies, I'm probably gonna go see. I'm probably
right.
not gonna go see the F1 movie with Brad Pitt, but I will go see.
Oh, and who's it? Dempsey Idris up in there or
Uh-huh.
whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's
If
the
you
thing that's happening right now in culture for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? But I will go see Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
understand why you bet on that. I understand why you got to keep making Stranger Things. You know what I'm saying? But to your point, every day there's an 18-year-old discovering Korean films, discovering
Right,
German films on
right.
Netflix, Brazilian films, and like 3%.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So to your point, the cream rises to the top, and users are now in everything poly users in
Hmm.
everything. That's what the
Hmm.
NBA is tackling. That's what the WNBA is tackling. That's what the NFL is tackling.
Yeah.
That's why they try to control narratives. Why the NBA allows more player freedom and expression. If Shedeur was an NBA player, he would have been a
Oh
top 10, top 5 draft pick for
yeah,
sure. Even if his
yeah,
skills
for
wasn't all the way
sure.
there,
Yeah,
Somebody
this
would have
was
picked
good
them
for
just based off
business.
of that. Just based them off of that. In the NFL, we're not seeing your face. It's a different kind of thing. It's more people, more
Yeah,
personalities. It's a
yeah.
different game.
Also, a
But
lot more conservative and old school with what they think
yeah.
about too. I feel like, yeah,
So as we close out here, what what trends did you see from the upfronts, or what's something that you kind of just looking forward to? It could just be something fun or something that's
yeah.
just like
CCTV, like, it's definitely. I'm not gonna say the death of TV. Well, it's imminent for sure. It's gradually happening year over year. It declines as more people go to like more on-demand video and things of that nature and streaming. So more of that. They're using some really fun partnerships, like partnerships to drive people to watch things or something. But all of these big studios, these big networks, when it comes to television, has everything to do with live events, either live sports or something like NBC Universal. They have like BravoCon, and like Paramount is working on like these live event experiences because that also they also own Nickelodeon and shit like that. So like there's going to be more of those things, and they also own MTV. So like the VMAs and these bigger things, like they want award shows to be popping again for sure, but live sports is where it's at, bro. Like looking at NBC Universal, they're geeked and they stacked. They got the Super Bowl next year. The NBA is
NBC.
back. So they're also, yeah. They got the Super Bowl in 2026. Because well, for those who don't know, I know we talking about upfronts, but this is basically the time of the year where the big TV studios, primarily and networks, do like these fun presentations to the advertising world because this is where they get a large bulk of their media buying.
Right.
So like they're talking about 2026 right now and everything that's coming up. So you're learning about these things happening up front for the
Mm-hmm.
next year, so you can start buying your media, getting your partnerships together, all that other shit.
Right.
So with NBC Universal, which right now has the biggest flex around, I expect more. Amazon ain't even had their event yet or whatever, but they was talking about the Winter Olympics, the All Star Game, and the Super Bowl because the NBC also got the NBA
Mm.
coming over, so they're
Right.
about to have a crazy summertime, and then they also get winter time, and then they also get the World Cup in the summertime because
Uh-huh.
they also got the Telemundo, so they get the Spanish speaking network, but they also got deals with the Premier League and a bunch of other stuff. So they about to get
Let
hella
me
bread.
let
Live
me
sports is keeping these networks alive right now,
let
bro.
me ask you this in our last 3 minutes because we got a ghetto bootleg recording here going on, y'all. Um, yeah, we got 7 minutes. Everybody is a channel now, right?
Mm.
Building with Mars and Esco, NBC, Nickelodeon, a YouTube channel. What's your platform that you use? Is it Spectrum? Is it what's in Chicago? Uh,
Ooh, Comcast.
Comcast. Is it
Yeah.
Comcast? Is it YouTube? Right? Is it Amazon? Whatever it is, can I have access to your channel, and or am I willing to pay for your channel?
Mm.
So now that's what Paramount, Peacock, Max, they're all vying for our attention and saying, hey, we are a channel here. You can access our
Mm.
channel on Prime. You can access our channel in multiple ways, but you want to watch Thursday night basketball. You want to
Right.
watch Monday night hockey. You want to
Mm-hmm.
watch, that's what they betting on the live stuff. And then on the back end, like you say, that content. But to me, it seems like people always want value and they want a bundle. And the bundle is just fucking cable TV.
Yeah.
That's what they want because now what I've
Yeah.
realized, I have Spectrum. You know me. I'm a big Spectrum. I'm a cable guy.
Yeah.
Now with Spectrum, I have with ads. Now it is with ads, but I have
Okay.
access to Disney Plus. They give
Okay.
you
Oh, Disney Plus.
Peacock. They give you
Okay.
Peacock. They give you Paramount because they have a deal with NBC, ABC, and CBS.
Mm,
So and
yeah,
Max, and I get Max for
yeah.
Warner Brothers. So now I
Oh,
have.
that's hard.
So it's just with ads. So now I have access to all of them because it's the same thing as on demand.
Yeah,
If it's not
yeah,
on demand on
exactly,
Spectrum,
exactly.
it's on the app. It's the
Hey,
exact same thing. And it's just
but
like
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's why I was saying about like the CCTV and the streaming and all of that, because even what you're getting, like all that, obviously you can pay for a subscription, get it premium ad free, But people don't mind ads. We've been watching ads with TV since the beginning of it all, bro. That's what pays for our media consumption, from magazine to radio to TV to these websites. It be ad revenue that come in. That's the funny part about all of it. Yeah, I mean, I do have YouTube Premium, whatever. I don't get ads on
Me
that,
too.
but
Me
I
too.
enjoy. Yeah, YouTube Premium is worth it. I'll give y'all that. They don't pay us at all, but at the same time, I enjoy going and watching other people's YouTubes and seeing what commercials are out there, because commercials you get on YouTube are totally different than the ones you get on TV a lot of the time, bro. So just seeing where the shift is really, really interesting. I do think that we will eventually see more of a closed circle of the cable concept happen again. The way all these packages is working out, it's the same thing. It's basic streaming will eventually basically be the way that video on demand on your cable package, your satellite package used to be. That's basically what streaming will eventually become. I don't even know if that's their strategy or if they just kind of wing it and figuring out as they
I
go.
think that
Because it's
it's the
old,
user experience. The users
kind of
naturally
leading them in a way.
because
Yeah.
even to that point now, you put a CD on, you have to listen to the CD unless what you're playing the game or you watch your sports. My dad turn on the
Mm-hmm.
game, put a CD on, we're chilling,
Yep. 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 Yep.
you know
Yep.
what I'm
Yep.
saying? You do that with streaming now. But now the difference is we're all on the connection. We're all literally on the internet. So then you loop in the internet provider
Yep.
because
Yep.
now
Yep.
who's
Yep.
doing anything on the landline? So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
people have already said how they like to consume TV, movies.
Mm-hmm.
We've already established that. Now it's just about updating it, not to people, it's more so to the hardware,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
software.
Yep. Yep.
When
Yep. Yep.
PlayStation started to have game Netflix and all that other stuff, that
Yeah. That
started
was
to
a
cut
game
out
changer.
TV.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts to cut out
That was a
TV.
game
I'm in
changer.
college. I'm in Columbia. I don't give a fuck what's going on in Columbia local news. I want to
Mm-hmm.
watch the game. No, hook it up to the thing.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
we want to watch a movie when the homies come over, the girl come. Like, by myself, I got to do
Right.
something. You
Right.
know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right. Right.
To not be on Redbox, those
Exactly.
hardware started to see that. Apple saw that. Let's stop putting the disc in here. Let's force you to stay online. Let's do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like the media people, baby boomers, are adverse to the way that we just consume because they don't mind appointment TV. My mom doesn't mind appointment TV.
Yeah, they grew up on it, and I still like anticipating some. I be watching
I'm not shit
cable.
on appointment TV.
Yeah, but
I love
on
appointment
demand
TV.
is super convenient. I also understand how that might drive a business problem for studios, because you usually can tier off your prices for things based off the fact that you know a certain amount of people is going to be watching a program at a certain time block, which is why I think live sports is such a big deal, because you can
Exactly.
only, like, you have to do it at a certain time slot for it to work. But like, yeah, I don't know. They just got to figure out their ad revenues, their business model. But that's why so many of them are still shrinking. They're not making the same type of money they were in the 90s and 2000s. But like, they still make a shit ton of money, bro.
Bro,
On some like
they make it
99% type shit, is really just eat the rich. These executives just got to stop giving themselves a fucking $3 million raise every year.
maybe they shrunk a little bit because now you have bigger a player like Amazon, you have a player like
Mm-hmm.
Netflix. Those are the only
Mm-hmm.
two big players that came in. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have a group of players in the UGC
Mm-hmm.
groups, Castanet,
Mm-hmm.
us included. We're taking away the attention.
Mm-hmm.
But to your
Right.
point, the banks are still gonna bet on Warner Brothers to do this fucking Game of Thrones next season. So that's to your point.
Absolutely.
It's like goes back to the IP point that we made, not making that bet on black creators, indigenous creators, the Asian creators, the women creators, and they're just going
Mm-hmm.
back to the well, and people are just going to those people's YouTube.
Yeah, and it's funny what you also are seeing, and we're gonna continue to see more of it. These bigger channels on Netflix, or I mean on YouTube and TikTok specifically, they're now licensing out their IP. Like the Red Balloon show is now over on Netflix. Mr. Beast is like doing TV stuff now,
Amazon.
whatever. Netflix and Amazon, yeah, Amazon, bam. So
We
it's like
got less than a
they're
minute.
cutting those checks. Okay, yeah, they still cutting those checks, and Amazon is still one of the richest companies in the world. The money is there for sure. It's just about one, building your own platform and being nimble enough to deal with it. but the future is still bright, and these kids got it. I just don't know if the old heads in corporate America will get it fast enough to actually be ahead of the curve because they always just reacting to some shit.
That's it.